Hey everyone, Airball here, and welcome to the next stop on our tour of Alchemy as we approach the Degen Gaming Open in a couple of weeks. Last week we took on Is It Dragons, and today we're taking on one of my favorite archetypes in Magic, Blue-White Control. So Blue-White Control, effectively unplayable in Standard. The only flavor of control that's any good there, of course, is It with its Epiphanies. But Alchemy is a little different. In Alchemy, Alrund's Epiphany has been nerfed to the point where other decks can out-aggro it reliably, and that's opened up some space for some new control decks to take hold. And this is Andrew Cuneo's list, his take on blue-white control. You have a few options, but his choices for the format are what you see in front of you. You have the main win conditions being 2 copies of Hullbreaker Horror, which is a card that we all know and love, 1 copy of Amiria's Call, and most of the normal standard cast and crew. So you have your Divide by Zeros, you have your Saw It Comings, you have 2 copies of Memory Deluge, and a bunch of counter spells, and some cheap interaction to make sure that the opponent can't get through if they're a creature deck. But the main star of the show is Key to the Archive, which is a 4-mana artifact that when it enters the battlefield tapped, you get to draft a card from its spellbook. And this card is ramp and a win condition all on its own because the spellbook contains some heavy hitters. The main card that you want to grab to win the game is Approach of the Second Sun, which you can read in front of you. Basically, if you cast it twice, you win the game. Day of Judgment is another Wrath effect, which fits the deck perfectly. Time Warp, of course, draws you closer to Approach of the Second Sun, and also just allows you to stabilize the board when all you need is an extra turn to untap. Counterspell, of course, literal Counterspell is great. Demonic Tutor for when you don't know what to get from this, or for when you want some random card from your deck to stabilize on the board. Doomblade, Lightning Bolt, Claim the Firstborn is a bit of a whiff. Croson Griff, a bit of a whiff. Regrowth can rebuy something like a Key to the Archive that gets destroyed, or it can regrow Approach of the Second Sun if it gets countered, something like that. Despark deals with problematic permanent like opponents' Key to the Archives, and we have Lightning Helix as well to keep you alive against the aggro decks. So the reason this card is really good isn't just that it fetches a win condition, it isn't just because it ramps, but also because it plays really well with Teferi Who Slows the Sunset, who is a legal Planeswalker in Standard, but doesn't see much play because there aren't many great artifacts to take advantage of its +1, which says choose up to 1 target artifact, 1 target creature, and 1 target land, and untap them. And so basically, if you play a Teferi onto a board that has a Key of the Archive already in play, it effectively costs only 1 mana, because you can untap the Key to the Archive, which produces 2, and you can untap one of the lands that you use to cast Teferi, which is the 3rd. So Teferi for 1 mana is pretty sweet. Its minus lets you anticipate for a card when you run out of gas. This deck does have some issues with running out of gas. There's not many raw card draw spells here. We have 2 copies of Unexpected Conversion, which is a new Alchemy card. Sorcery Speed, basically a divination. Draw 2 cards, and then you can exile an instant or sorcery from your hand and exile them from your library as well. And then for every card you exile from your hand that way, you get to seek an instant or sorcery card from your deck. So the idea here is that you exile in game 1 a card that you don't think is good in the matchup, get to draw 2 fresh cards off the top, and also replace the cards that you exiled from your hand with something that's hopefully more useful. And because it's a seek, you know that you're not going to flood out, you're not going to hit lands, you're going to hit actual spells. So one of the problem states that the deck can run into is you run into the situation where you have a ton of mana and nothing to do with it. And Andrew Cuneo also included this Nico Eris Planeswalker, who's also in Standard, but also not seeing a whole lot of play, because it's only at its best when you have a bunch of mana to pump into it, and none of the decks that are running blue Planeswalkers really have use for a bunch of mana, except the Is It decks, and they're already doing things like casting Alrund's Epiphanies and Unexpected Windfalls. But here it's actually pretty good. So if you dump this onto a board, you get a bunch of shard tokens, which are essentially souped up clues. You can correct one of these clues and get to scry and draw, which is a pretty powerful effect. So in the sideboard, exactly what you'd expect. You've got 1 copy of Redain, which is a little interesting. You've got Teachings of the Archaics and Mascots Exhibition and Environmental Sciences as targets to hit with Divide by Zero. You get to run another Disdainful Stroke. We're not running Leer, so counterspells are still good in the deck. Similarly, you have Malevolent Hermit, only 2 copies. A copy of Discover the Formula, only in the board. This is another new Alchemy card. Seek 3 non-land cards, and then non-land cards perpetually get 1 less to cost 1 less to cast. This is bonkers when you get it to resolve. Getting 3 spells that are not only 3 spells for 6 mana is already pretty good at instant speed, playable on its own, but then for them to perpetually get the discount is pretty great. So that's the deck tech. Let's cast some Lobsters and Keys to the Archive and see how the deck does. That's a hand of Magic cards. So we have... We're on the draw. We don't really have need for our white unless we're up against aggro, in which case we'll need to draw 2. I think this is a mull. Better. Still a little awkward, but better. We'll keep this. And I think... the putback is Fateful Absence. If we're up against Control, which seems to be the most popular in Historic right now, then this is the way to go. Nico also defends himself. We'll give this a shot. All right, looks like we are up against Control, so happy with the Fateful Absence putback there. I think we'll hold the Jwari Disruption. Could be relevant if we flood out. Okay, so is it Jeskai Dragons? Interesting. I think... So they're probably going to play a 4-drop dragon next turn, which makes me want to Jwari Disrupt that dragon and then cast Portable Hole the following turn. Don't hate it. If they play around it somehow, then that would suck. But there's no 3-drop dragon. They didn't have the Whelp. I think probably we're going to be able to counter something here. Not what I was expecting. But counterable all the same. And I think I'm down to get rid of that. Just having them fire haste threats at me the rest of the game seems unpleasant. Yeah. So we get to make this play, which is pretty sweet. We can untap this, hold up Divide by 0, divide whatever their play is, get Sciences, and then Portable Hole the following turn. Seems pretty good. I'm going to fetch blue. I'm going to name blue and untap it. Does put our hand kind of face up. Veil Regent, sure. So that's going to go back to hand. And what are our options? I know I said I was going to fetch Environmental Sciences, but now I'm wondering if there's a way we can get Teachings to resolve. They have 4 cards in hand. We will have 6. It's going to be pretty ambitious to resolve that, I think. So I think I do just want the Sciences to hit the land drop. We hit the land drop anyway. I think it's pretty important now to hit the orb. I don't think Portable Hole is going to have many other targets. Although Moonveil Regent is castable next turn even without the orb. So maybe the play here is to get the Key to the Archive down and take it on a following turn. We don't have an answer to the Moonveil Regent, which is kind of inconvenient. But maybe we can dig one up with the Unexpected Conversion, or with the Key to the Archive itself. Yeah, I think we win this game with mana. I don't think the orb is super relevant. D-Spark seems great. I think we'll take that. And I think... I do want to pitch the Environmental Sciences. I do want to Portable Hold the orb eventually so they can't crack it. It does represent another dragon. Well, okay. That was going to get cast no matter what. 3 mana is not enough to cast the Moonveil Regent, so this is not so bad. We have 7 mana available. And I think our turn is fairly scripted. So it's probably this. Unexpected Conversion first, see what we draw. Negate, not the worst. I think I want to keep... Actually, Negate doesn't seem great. I think I'll pitch Negate and try to redraw something else, like a Divide by 0. How do I feel about the Negate in my deck? I think I'm fine getting rid of it, too. Doesn't seem great in the matchup. Memory Deluge does. So let's, before they get a chance to use the mana from the Goldspan Dragon, let's cast Despark on it now. And I will Portable Holy Orb now. Moonveil Region's going to let them draw some cards. But we're going to be able to draw cards of our own. That Whelp is a little late. This Reckless Stormseeker is an interesting inclusion in the Dragon's deck. I guess they're just trying to find some value. Interesting that they hasted the Whelp instead of the Stormseeker. That's kind of bizarre. Okay. Let's lead with Memory Deluge, I think. See if we can find something fun. We found Teferi, but Teferi will just die. Still might be the way to go. We definitely take the 2 spells here, I'm pretty sure. So we've drawn 3 cards this turn. We can actually play Nico and kill the Stormseeker. Actually, no, we didn't draw off the Memory Deluge. And it has to be tapped anyway, right? So we can kill the Whelp, which is kind of underwhelming. Alright, let's just try to dig up like a Doomscar or something. That can go in the bin. Not Coming is also reasonable. I think I'm happy with that. So probably they play Moonveil Regent here to haste it up. Yeah, so we're happy to counter that, I think. I have another one. Okay. So it's gonna hurt. Okay, so Doomscar's right on time. I think we're happy to just do that now. Yeah, this is basically forced, unfortunately. But, it's not so bad. We can play Nico for no value. Doesn't seem, like, super inspiring. Yeah, probably better not to play it. Opponent's shown us a bunch of haste creatures, so there is some threat here. Imrith is a little scary. And by a little, I mean, like, pretty scary. So we need an answer to that. I think we start, therefore, with Memory Deluge. Find another Doomscar, which is castable. We find Fateful Absence, which seems just worse, because it'll give him the clue. And we have to pay the ward cost anyway. Okay, so we'll take the Doomscar, and I guess consider. And we'll untap the Key to the Archive. We do not want to target Imrith, and untap a white source. And let's Doomscar this board. And also have Consider available. And hopefully next turn we get to restock with Nico. Another Goldspan Dragon. Okay, opponent is relentless. Alright. Yeah, we'll keep that. We're not thrilled about it. We don't want to give them the card. Let's do this song and dance again. See what we can see. Saw It Coming seems reasonable, so we can Fateful Absence plus Saw It Coming, which seems great. We can even Valorous Stance, actually, and Saw It Coming, which seems even better. Yeah. And I think I want more blue. We'll do this now, before they can use the mana from the treasure on their turn. We have 4 mana left, so I think I'm happy to foretell here, in case they don't do anything. And Teferi's on 7, so being able to ultimate this Teferi will be probably lights out. Yeah, so that's going to do it. We're going to ultimate this Teferi here and basically double our mana. Yeah, so now we get to untap all of our permanents on their turn. We have 11 mana. I think we're just jamming Nico for 8. Yeah. Make a bunch of shard tokens. Make another shard token. And that's a ton of card draw. Yeah, that's going to do it. Okay. Cool. So against the Dragons deck, Valorous Stance seems pretty good. Disdainful Stroke seems pretty good. Portable Hole was not at its best, although it does hit the Fearsome Whelp. It does hit the Orb, so that's relevant. Fierce Retribution seems okay. Sunset Revelries, fine. I'm not sure we're going to get the time to cast Discover the Formula, but let's see how the rest of the sideboarding goes. I feel like Nico's not great in the matchup. It's just a little slow. Doesn't kill enough. Doomscar was good. I think we definitely want to keep that around. Negate wasn't that great, although now that they've shown blue, maybe we want to be able to win Counter Wars. Brought in a bunch of extra removal. Maybe we don't need the Fateful Absences anymore. I think the Portable Hole is like easily the worst card, though. If they have the Nut Draw with the Fearsome Whelp, then maybe we're a little sad, but, I mean, at least we have the board wipe to be able to deal with all their discounted stuff. Maybe we're a little slow here. But I think I'm going to give this a try. It's possible that the Memory Deluges should be what's cut instead of the Portable Holes. Knowing that if the opponent resolves Fearsome... It doesn't resolve Fearsome Whelp, then they're a huge dog in the matchup anyway. Can't keep a one-lander, though. Better. So... I suspect we're bottoming Hullbreaker Horror here. Because if we get to turn 7, we're pretty happy anyway. Okay, so... Opponent plays white mana tapped. We'll hold up Consider. Opponent plays the Whelp, then they're going to get a discount. It's going to hurt. No Whelp. Or at least no ability to play it, importantly. So now we're going to get to hold up the Fateful Absence for the Whelp, which is sweet. We're going to keep that land. We just want to hit land drops for the rest of the game. Reckless Stormseeker. So you wouldn't play that instead of the Whelp, right? I think we're on board just killing that now. We could draw something for 3. Sure. So I guess that means we're going to play this tapped. And foretell the Doomscar. It does go to Knight. A little scary. Okay. Stroke is reasonable. We're going to play this on blue, and now the question is, do we play Teferi first, or do we play the Key to the Archive first? I think the answer is Key to the Archive, because we're going to want to be able to play Teferi with Stroke backup. Doomblade is, like, not bad. It seems better than Lightning Helix. Okay. I think, what do we do here? We have Stroke and Doomblade. I think I'm going to pitch the Memory Deluge, because we'll be able to cast it from the bin. We are tapped out. It is scary. If opponent plays, like, Gold's Pendragon here, ideally they just, like, power up Den of the Bugbear. Alright, so they do have another Gold's Pendragon, which they choose to play. And they have 3 mana available for, like, a Divide by 0 or Counterspell, so that's frightening. And they cast an orb off of it, which is interesting. So it essentially buys them a dragon spell with that treasure. But we have Disdainful Stroke. So I think I'm happy just doing this. I don't think there's any 1 mana spell that can interact with Teferi here. So let's do this. And I think we just Doomblade the Goldspan Dragon now, before they can have a counterspell available. And we have Disdainful Stroke or Fierce Retribution, depending on what suits our fancy next turn. So presumably they spent the treasure to cast the orb. They must really want gas. That means that they're probably low on stuff in hand. They get a Moonveil Regent, sure. That can help them gas up. It's also possible they fire up the Den to attack the Fairy, which I think we're okay with. That's a little frustrating. They have 2 man lands now. Adult Gold Dragon, you say? I think that's the one we want to kill with the Fierce Retribution instead of the Stroke, right? Because Moonveil Regent could rebuy their hand if they have an instant to cast in response. Of course, Stroke doesn't kill the lands where the Fierce Retribution does, but I think with the Memory Deluge we're going to have enough. It's also, like, not completely unreasonable to let that to just let that attack happen. And now we probably just minus Teferi trying to hit our land drop. We could plus Teferi and cast Memory Deluge, but then we're shields down on the Regent. So I think I'm fine with this. Just try to hit land. And we get there. And if they play a dragon, which I'm sure they will, we can Disdainful Stroke, and if they don't, then we can cast Memory Deluge on their end step. And we feel pretty good. Moonveil Regent is getting countered right. If this isn't a spell, then getting to cast Memory Deluge here is pretty great. We have so many ways of dealing with the dragon. I think I'm actually going to cast the Deluge in response. In case this is a counter spell, then at least they don't get to dump their hand off of this. Divide by 0 seems outstanding. Another key is, like, okay. You don't really need multiples. I think I want the Memory Deluge. Could also just take a land and not be greedy. But I think I want the Deluge. So this will touch the board. I have another Moonveil Regent. This is fine. So now we'll get to Doomskar. And probably Disdainful Stroke, whatever this card that they drew is. So this feels pretty good. They do get to ping to fairy twice. That's true. I forgot that this orb would stick around. And yeah, let's just deluge it up. Hit our land drop. Divide by 0 and Field of Ruin seem pretty good. We do have these 2 man lands that do need to be dealt with eventually. Teferi's going to die to one of those man lands, probably. If they animate the cave, we can hit it with Valorous Dance. It's also possible that instead of powering up the man lands, they'll try to add some material to the board. Yeah, that cannot resolve. And if we bounce it, if their last card is a land, then they get to replay it, and that's kind of disaster. So I think we're just countering that now. Great. Haven't seen that card in a minute. Okay, that was a tap land, but... And they Scry Bottom, so they're going to be able to fetch a dragon with this orb. They can also crack the clue. But we have a bunch of Divide by Zeros and Valorous Stances, so I feel firmly in the driver's seat now. Especially with the Field of Ruin in hand. So we will have 7, 8, 9, 12 mana, which is enough for a Deluge plus Divide by 0 plus Valorous Stance, which feels great. It really, really does not want to tap Key. And we'll untap the Key in the Field of Ruin. Another Teferi's, whatever. Unexpected Conversion seems pretty good. And I think just more removal spells. Like everything in their deck has 4 toughness or more. But we will have some patience here. There's no reason to cast the Unexpected Conversion this turn. We won't have anything hit anything we can play off of it anyway. So we'll just be patient, say go. This game feels firmly in hand. They do get to hit a random card and a dragon spell off of these 2 artifacts. So it's not over. Opponent can, with the right sequence of top decks, get back into the game, but I feel pretty solid about this. They hit Imrith, which is like a good Divide by 0 target. Malevolent Hermit. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, I guess that touches the board. And Reckless Stormseeker. Okay, so dodging the Valorous Stance is pretty well. If we cast Divide by 0, then they can counter it with the Hermit. And then they get the Stormseeker, which will kill Teferi. Yeah. Okay. See how they attack. I don't think it matters much what we do here, because the Divide by 0 is going to get countered by the Hermit, and then they can replay it from the bin. Yeah, this is a little hairy, but I think we make him do it. Sure. Yep, so Teferi dies. So coming reasonable against Imrith. I think I'm down to cast Unexpected Conversion here. Another unexpected conversion. I don't think I want to exile anything. I think I'm happy with my hand as it is. Yeah, we'll decline. So we have 5, 7 mana available. So we're probably just casting Key to the Archive and holding up Saw It Coming. Or Field of Ruin. Yeah. These are not great. Yeah, these are not great. I think we just want Electrolyze. And I think I'm just going to discard the Electrolyze. Yeah, so Benevolent Geist doesn't prevent creature spells from being countered, so we can still counter the Simrith. And they're going to get in for a bunch. Doomscar's great. I guess we lead with Unexpected Conversion. That's pretty great. I think I'm going to exile one of these Valorous stances, because it doesn't hit the Den of the Bugbear. Try Disruption. Meh. Yeah, so let's kill everything. Play the Hall. And say go. Tapping was a little weird there. Probably should have ended up keeping Field of Ruin to deal with the land. So this is going to hit us for 4 and leave behind a 1/1. But we'll be able to Field of Ruin the Den, force him to power up the cave instead, and kill the cave with the Valorous stance. So should still be fine. I also find a lobster. A lobster is pretty good. I still like this idea. So we have 7, 9, 11 mana available, which is enough for basically anything we could possibly want to do. So if they power up the cave, yeah, no. They can replay it? They can't replay it. They don't have the double blue. That was a bad tap. Probably should have flashed in the lobster there. Everything is face up, so there was no reason not to. And it might just get the scoop out of them. Opponent is realizing the folly of their tapping. I guess they didn't really have a choice. I guess that, yeah, no, they should have not tapped this. No, actually, they only have the 2 blue, period. Yeah, there was no good tap there. Probably just should have named blue at some point on one of these white lands earlier. But what are you going to do? Mascot Exhibition. Get to bounce the token. We're going to get to divide by 0 the Imrith, or depending on what they do, if they power up the cave, we'll be able to cast Valorous Stance on it. But this feels overwhelming. And they have the same problem as last turn. They don't have the double blue available to recast Imrith. Yeah, cool. Probably did not even have to cast Divide by 0 there, but no reason not to, no reason to play with our food. Cool. So that's 1-0, and on to the next one. Okay, On the play, we have Teferi, we have removal, and we have to hope that that's going to be good enough. I don't think we can send this back, but it's not the most inspiring of hands. With the Hall out of the way, hold up Fateful Absence on 2 for whatever good that'll do. Up against the creature deck with the End of the Bugbear, that feels pretty good. Fiery Disruption, of course, much better on the play than on the draw. Yeah. Some question about whether to disrupt this or kill it with Fateful Absence. I think the answer is disruption because we have another land in hand. So obviously, that could have gone very badly if we had been on the draw instead. Yep, so Field of Ruin. I think I'm down to divide this by 0, just because I really want to hit the environmental sciences. Like, badly need to hit our land drop. I'll go fetch blue. And if they cast a dragon, then we'll be able to Valorous Stance it. If they don't, we'll Fateful Absence. Okay, so this is red-white. Let's see, are they going to jam the... That's not ideal. So probably the play here is going to be to... Yeah, and they're knocking us off of our white. That's a bit annoying. So we can't even cast our Consider with that. That's frustrating. So maybe the play here then is to cast our Consider and use this white mana on our upkeep to kill the Tyrant, or just pay and play Teferi. That's probably even better. If we play Teferi and hit untapped land, then we'll be able to untap, hold up Fateful Absence. Alright. Okay, cool. We did it. Alright. So opponent does have plenty of cards in hand. We are going to need to find answers for them. Stormseeker, sure. So let's see what they choose to do. I think Teferi's a big boy and he can take it. So I'm not going to kill the Stormseeker here. I'm just going to cast Consider and use this white mana on my upkeep to cast the Fateful Absence. The Lobster. How do I feel about the Lobster? We are a long way from casting it. I think I'm going to bin that. Okay, we found another white source, which is good. Cast Fateful Absence on the Stormseeker. Have Divide by 0 available. Find Doomscar. That's pretty good. All right, and your go. Still a truly terrifying amount of card advantage for the opponent, especially since we gifted them a clue. Jeez. All right, well that's going back to the hand. We'll take Teachings, and we're gonna draw a boatload of cards, which I'm pretty happy about. Okay, that's not bad. Opponent is kind of stuck on mana, which makes me think this Fiery Disruption might actually be useful. And yeah, seems good. Hopefully they just jam this again. Great. And we may claw our way back from this. Didn't look very good for a little bit. Still doesn't look great. Another Doomscar is like fine. I think I'm going to anticipate with the Teferi here though. Wow. Those are cards. Horror not at its best. We don't have the cheap spells to use it, so I'm just going to take this key. That's a lot of blue to tap. I don't understand that tap. Yeah. Okay. What do we draw? Doomblade is like fine. We can't cast any of these until we untap. Everything has 4 toughness, so Lightning Helix not great. I think we're fine just taking Doomblade here. And what are we pitching? Is it the Doomblade? It might be. I think it kind of is. I think there's a reasonable chance that the Teferi dies. Yeah. I'll hold up Field of Ruin in case they decide to get risky with the lands, but most likely they play Moonveil Regent here. It's possible that they play land Goldspan Dragon. That's probably the worst case scenario. Dragon's Fire onto Teferi is acceptable. That's why we kept the Teferi in our hand. Here's some Whelp. Sure. We don't love it. There's no sense Field of Ruining their den. But that Whelp is going to be a problem. Maybe we're just supposed to anticipate again with Teferi. Yeah, I think so. We don't have anything to do with the mana. Let's just make sure we get value. Memory Deluge is pretty good. We'll cast that on their end step. So ideally, opponent uses the Fearsome Whelp to dump a bunch of their hand out to the board. We'll be able to Memory Deluge, get some cards in hand, Doomscar. The following turn, they dump the rest of their hand, then we'll Doomscar again. Yeah, that's a thing you can do. They hit the Hall instead of the Field of Ruin, which feels wrong. I feel like the Field of Ruin is a bigger threat to them as far as the board state is concerned. We're not going to be attacking them for a little bit. Yeah, okay. Maybe I'm supposed to do this now in case I hit Fateful Absence and I can kill the Whelp. But again, I kind of want them to dump their hand into this Doomscar anyway. Yeah, I mean, I guess I want both of these now to start picking away at their lands. And I will sack the land. I think I'm more than happy to do that. Valor Stance also not bad. So what to do? We have 2, 5, 7, 10 mana. I think I'm okay casting this full price Doomscar. Right. If we cast the one from hand, from exile, then we get to cast Memory Deluge, which is not nothing. Yeah, okay. So we have Valorous Dance if they cast Goldspan Dragon, otherwise we'll cast Memory Deluge. That dodges Valorous Dance annoyingly well. Okay. Guess Teferi's dead. Didn't occur to me that there would be a 3 toughness dragon. But yeah, you got it. Bunch of keys and another Doomscar and a Divide by Zero. I think I want the Divide by Zero. And we have a land in hand. Another key seems fine. Yeah, so let's lead with the key. I guess we play this in case we want to keep the key untapped in case we hit something that we can only cast with the mana from it. Time Warp is exactly what we're looking for. Probably fine pitching one of these divides. Nah, okay, yeah, sure. I'm not sure what the right putback there is. I think it is one of the divides. The Valorous Dance, even though it doesn't kill the Goldspan or that dragon, it kills almost every other creature in their deck. So against Boros dragons, you have to imagine that most of these are like 5 mana spells that they never got to cast. Portable Hole seems, again, kind of weak, only hitting the Fearsome Whelp. Revelry seems good, Retribution seems good, Stroke seems good, Valorous Dance seems good. And we need to make 3 more cuts. The Horror seems pretty bad. In fact, it doesn't even seem all that great in this deck, realistically. There's not a whole lot of cheap spells to be able to trigger it. So I think it's like only good in the Control Mirror, and even then, not super great. So 1 more cut. It's probably Nico. Again, it just doesn't hit enough. Like, I think Nico is fine when you're up against like little tiny creatures because it can defend itself from those, but it's not really great when you're under pressure from mid-range decks. And I think this is fine. Yeah, I think this is fine. Hope we don't get whelped. I guess. Hand is very awkward, but I think on the draw we keep it. Okay, that makes things significantly better. And here we just play the Deserted Beach tapped. I want to be able to hit something with the Jori Disruption. If they play the Whelp here, yep, then that's pretty scary. Still the plan, I think, has to be to Jori Disrupt their 4-drop dragon. Or Valorous Dance it, whichever one makes the most sense. If they say go, I'm not really sure what to make of their hand. Yeah, okay, so that one's getting disrupted. Okay. So the hand basically plays itself at this point. We're gonna divide by 0 or saw it coming, whatever play they make. Reckless Stormseeker. That's not really one I want to counter, I don't think. I think we're going to divide that by 0. And probably just sciences. I think we just want lands. Negate. Maybe the negates are supposed to come out. Yeah, the negates are certainly supposed to come out. So this is another more or less face-up play, but nothing else really makes a whole lot of sense. We can't do anything with the extra mana from Teferi, and if we minus him, he dies on board to the Whelp. So I think this is more or less forced. Definitely should have taken out the negates. Hopefully they give us a target. I want the board to be safe for Teferi next turn. And we don't really have a convenient answer otherwise. So I guess this is happening. Seems like opponent's missing a land drop, at least. Doomscar is good. Okay. This is going to be painful. But I think I like it. Now, what to do? We can either cast Environmental Sciences with the intention of casting full price Doomscar. We can cast Valorous Stance on whatever creature they play. If it's a Goldspan Dragon, that will keep Teferi alive, which is pretty relevant. So I think that's the play. Yeah. Instead of foretelling Doomscar. I don't want a hasty dragon killing Teferi. Yeah, okay. That's not Goldspan Dragon, but for all intents and purposes the same in that spot. Divide by 0 is pretty good as well. So now I'm more than happy to just make my land drop, I think. And yeah, let's so we can plus Teferi and hold up negate. We can plus Teferi, foretell Doomscar, hold up divide by 0. I think that's better because anything we hit with Teferi off the -2 isn't going to get cast this turn anyway. So this isn't super inspiring, but I think it's good enough. Obviously, we're looking to exchange this negate for literally any non-creature spell that they cast. But I don't think they're going to give us that opportunity. This is going to cost 2 next turn. All right. We can do this, and Teferi will let us cast Mascot Exhibition, or they can just scoop, yeah. And as I was saying that, like, grabbing Teachings makes a whole lot more sense. We're just going to draw a bunch of material and win the game that way. Okay, 2-0, on to the next one. Okay, here we are on the draw against Regzi. Opponent has mulliganed once already. We can't keep, unfortunately. This, I think, is keepable. We don't love it, but we're not going to 5. Unexpected Conversion, if it resolves, can hopefully get us out of this trouble. If Valorous Stance is bad, then we'll be able to exchange it away with the Unexpected Conversion, which is also pretty good. So I think here, especially being on the draw, I think we're going to put back one of these planes. Snow Covered Forest, so like mono green, most likely. Yeah, we'll play this tapped on blue and scry, I think. Hullbreaker Horror is like fine. I think we are not quite ready for it yet. Prosperous Innkeeper. Okay, so they're ramping into stuff. Not necessarily the worst for us, knowing that we have Doomscar coming. Like, if they dump their hand into a bunch of board presence, then Doomscar will be pretty good. If they're ramping into, like, some Storm the Festival thing, then, of course, Divide by 0 will be excellent against that. So we can cast Unexpected Conversion here to pitch this Valorous Stance, but knowing that opponent could be on Asika's Chariot, maybe I'm not interested in letting that touch the board. If they don't make any play next turn, I think we're happy anyway, just taking beats from this 1-1. So I think, yeah, the plan here is just going to be to divide whatever they play. Especially given that we have 2 in hand. Sure. That was probably the worst case scenario. Opponent missed their land. Okay. Yeah, I think this is the same. So like, if they don't make a play, then we're happy again. If they do make a play, then we'll want to divide it and hit Environmental Sciences, which means that under like no circumstances really will we want to play this Jwari Disruption next turn. as a land. So I think I'm down to just play this land untapped and keep this as a spell. And if we get to 5-6 mana, then we can cast this without concern. So yeah, we'll divide this by 0 to prevent them from getting on the board. Teachings also seems pretty great at this point, honestly. Yeah, I can buy it. Maybe we are supposed to environmental sciences there. They don't replay the sculptor with the treasure, which is interesting. So that means I think that whatever they have in hand likely costs 4. Yeah, 4, and they really want to make sure that it resolves. If they play the sculptor and then their board gets Doomscarred, then they're not guaranteed to be able to cast their 4-drop next turn. So I think we're fine to do this again. I know I said I didn't want to play this tapped, but now if they make another play, we can divide it by 0, and Teachings the next turn. Yeah. Ah, Golgari. So they do have the Chariot. We do want the Sciences now. Negate pretty good against the Chariot. Okay. So we will have 5 cards. They have 6. We're very likely to hit land off the top to be able to play it. Alternatively, we can guarantee that with environmental sciences. But at some point, we're going to be in danger of just not being able to cast this for value at all. Yeah, okay, so we didn't hit land. Too bad. But they're going to replay the Asika's Chariot, and we really want to be able to negate that. It's likely, given the way the game is played out, that they have more than one of those. Okay, and now they replay the Sculptor. Okay. Portable Hole, reasonable. So probably the play here is just environmental sciences to hit our land. Gain our 2 life. And I think I'm down to put that Sculptor in the hole to prevent them from ramping and divide by 0 whatever their next play is, and the next turn we'll be able to unexpected conversion. Sorin. Yeah, that we can't tolerate. Mascot Exhibition plays reasonably well against the Sorin, and it's at least fodder to pitch to the unexpected conversion if that's what we decide we want to do. Valorous Stance, I guess good against the Chariot if they ever play another one. Casting this now, I think, yeah, Fateful Absence also seems pretty good. It'll kill Sorin when they play him again, so that's definitely something that we want available. We have 1 Doomscar already. They don't have many resources. I think I'm going to pitch 1 Doomscar. Right? Yeah. And this will let us consider plus hold Fateful Absence up. But I think I want to keep the other... I want to keep 1 more Doomscar in the deck, I think, not both. We hit Jwari Disruption. Okay. So Jwari Disruption allows us to Fateful Absence plus hit a 6-drop, where they might be playing like Professor Onyx or something. So it's not like the worst draw. I kind of like that. This does feel like a Storm the Festival kind of deck as well. They do have to be concerned that we have some other kind of counterspell here. Red and 7. Alright. Yeah, that plays around the Jwari Disruption pretty well. But we can kill both the token and the Planeswalker here at the expense of a token, at the expense of a glue token. They're going to get Sorin down. Okay, so let's just kill this now. Yeah. Maybe I'm not supposed to cast the Valorous stance there. Maybe I'm supposed to use the Doomscar instead. So we can Mascot Exhibition. If they play Sorin and minus, then we're kind of in a tough spot, not being able to fight through that Vampire. So I think, again, we'll start with the card draw. Okay. Now I think I'm down to get rid of this Terraria Disruption. I'm not sure it's ever going to be good. I probably should have exiled the one from the deck. Yeah, so Consider will end up being pretty good when we have the Hullbreaker Horror in play. That's probably the way that we kill this Sorin. So let's play the Teferi. Anticipate. I think I just want land. And there's some universe where I cast this Amiria's Call, so I'm just going to keep this and play this on blue. And say go. And I don't think I'll cast the Consider, again, because I want the Hullbreaker Horror to be able to use it as a counterspell. It's going to hurt when they cast Sorin here. Yeah, so Teferi will go to 1. Valorous Stance. Uniquely bad against the 2-3. Don't really want a Doomscar post Hullbreaker Horror, so maybe the time is now to cast this Doomscar. We have 9 mana available, so this will leave us with 6, which is an awkward amount. So maybe the play then is to cast Amiria's Call. Actually, no, we can do this. And then untap a land with Teferi and be able to cast Mascot Exhibition, which is much better. Forgot that we had the Teferi for the ramp. And the Mascot Exhibition should allow us to pressure Sorin if they do rat the board somehow, which would be kind of weird in their Azeka's Chariot, Prosperous Innkeeper, whatever deck. Then we'll be able to land the Lobster and hopefully be able to push through that way. Oh, they do have Blood on the Snow. Okay. So what do they get back with that? Probably they get Wrenn at 7. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's not bad. That's a lot of value. We're gonna have to get this Lobster to live. Eight mana is enough for Hullbreaker Horror plus Consider. All right. It's unfortunately very likely that one of the cards in their hand is like Infernal Grasp or something. So the Hullbreaker Horror is not at its best. Lolth is deeply concerning. I think that does demand us to answer. So they'll be able to replay her off of the Sculptor of Winter. Consider seems reasonable. We have a lot of spells, so as long as the lobster lives. That was a lot of Infernal Grasp. That's great for us. Those would have been good answers to the Hullbreaker Horror. So now they've tapped. They're going to be able to recast Lolth. I think now... I think we want to counter this. Bounce the Lolth back to hand once again. That's going to go in the bin. Key to the Archive is outstanding. We love that. Yeah. Okay. So let's see what we draw. We can bounce both Planeswalkers if that's what we decide we want to do, but I'm not convinced that we do. Yeah, okay. Sure. I'm not sure what the correct execution there is to win the game. That's a lot of Planeswalkers, and we are down to 2 cards in hand with no real card draw. So we do need to hit well off the key to the archive, I think, and making a decision before we know what we're getting off the key is a little awkward. Okay, so we're up against, like, green-black rock. So the Portable Hole seems pretty bad. Negate seems great. Redain actually seems pretty good. And I don't think they'll expect that. Although, now that they've seen the Lobster, they're probably going to keep in their removal, so maybe it's not the best. Stroke is fine. Hermit seems fine. Discover the Formula seems tailor-made for this kind of matchup. Valorous Stance was, like, great against the Tree Folk tokens. But the question is, what do we keep if not the Valorous... Or if we... What do we get rid of if we keep the Valorous Stance? I'm not sure I have a great answer. Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about Redain. I think Valorous Stance is just a little too weak. We have Fateful Absence, which I'm happy to keep because it also hits the Planeswalkers. Sunset Revelry is, like, not the worst. But I think the rest of our deck is better. 4 Doomskars is a lot. Especially when they've shown us Blood on the Snow and we know that they actively want stuff in the graveyard. Maybe we are supposed to trim Doomskars. Maybe something like this. Okay, we'll give this a try. Okay. Not an awful hand. It's very reactive, and we are on the draw. If opponent has some secret sauce that's super aggressive, then we could fall behind, but otherwise the hand seems pretty good against them. Yeah, let's just get this tap land into play, and we will ideally get to Dwari Disrupt something. Okay, possibly even Nasika's Chariot, which would be great. If they Nasika's Chariot, would we rather have a Doomscar Foretold? I think the answer is no. Sculptor of Winter. Annoying. So, opponent misses a land drop again. Kind of into Fateful Absencing that Sculptor. It keeps the Dwari Disruption good in our hand for a little while longer. Field of Ruin also pretty good. They could be color screwed, so I might not want to hit the Faithless Haven right away. But I want the option at least. They have 2. Okay. They loot off the treasure, or the clue, sure. They were very careful about how they tapped. Makes me think that they do have something for this 2 mana. Not precisely sure what. Memory Deluge seems great. So we'd love to be able to cast that. So either opponent can put pressure on us, and we divide by 0, or they don't, and we... Memory Deluge. Settle the Wilds. Seek a permanent card. What are they going to seek? Planeswalker, probably, right? which means our negate and divide by zeros will be good. I think this is fine. I think I still want to cast Memory Deluge here. They could get us with like a random sneaky negate, but I think this is fine. Wow, we didn't hit any lands off this Memory Deluge. That's kind of scary. Level and Hermit does seem great. Yeah. Okay, we'll try this. I was considering taking Consider. So Memory Deluge will hopefully be able to address any Planeswalker spell that they try to cast, and even if they kill the Hermit, then we at least have Divide by Zero available. And we can Field of Ruin, Faceless Haven to boot. Duress. Duress is irritating. I think we have to let this resolve. I don't want them to be able to play Ren and 7. Normally I would divide by 0 and force them to recast this, but this way, no matter what they take, they have to they have to respect the counterspell on their Ren. Yeah, divide by 0 probably makes the most sense. Now, unfortunately, they know about the Hullbreaker. I don't know what that does. When it enters the battlefield, opponent discards a card with the greatest mana value among cards in their hand. Okay, nothing we can do about that. So that's going to resolve and hit our Hullbreaker Horror, and we're going to need to find an answer. Okay, cracking the blood right away. That's reasonable. I don't want to crack the Field of Ruin, A, because I actually want to draw lands, and B, because I want to make sure I kill the Faceless Haven they choose to animate the following turn, if that's what they decide they want to do. We are definitely trying to hit our land drops this turn. I still want to hold on to Destroyer Disruption to make life inconvenient for them. And I'm down to exile a Doomscar, I think. Especially because they know about one already. Another negate. Okay. Yeah. This seems fine. Not having the Field of Ruin untapped is a little scary. So this will hit what? This will hit Doomscar. Which I think is something that I'm going to want to cast next turn anyway, which is a little annoying. And then what if they have Blood on the Snow or something? Yeah, okay, I'll counter this. Ooh, Discover the Formula seems really good. I think that's the new plan. So that's the plan. We're going to cast that except in case of an absolute emergency. Animating the Faceless Haven would be brave. All right. I mean, I'm definitely going to take the opportunity to kill that. I feel like it's reasonably likely that they'll cast something we want to negate. We do have a negate face up. Yeah, cast it straight into the negate. That's interesting. Yeah. So we'll get domed for 7 next turn. Might be better to Doomscar here. And then discover the formula the following turn. I don't think so. A Faceless Haven scares me. At least we can play the Malevolent Hermit for a blocker. Redain's not terrible either. And this masks the negate, right? If we tap down to 1. I have to imagine that they power up the Faceless Haven here. If they don't and they go for a creature spell, then obviously, or a Planeswalker spell, then obviously we're thrilled. How do I feel about this? It takes away the Memory Deluge and the Hermit, so I think I am happy to negate this. They could play Sorin. That would suck. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we have 8 mana available. We can cast Doomscar and hold up Divide by 0. We can cast Doomscar, play Redain, which pressures down Sorin. Play Doomscar Hermit. I think I like Doomscar Redain in case they have another in case they have another Planeswalker spell. I want them to invest more mana to cast it. They find land, sure. Yeah, Wealth is annoying. That's going to be a tough one to deal with. The reach is tilting. And we're actually low on, we're very low on time again. Yeah, okay. Let's see if we can hit, like, what's it called? Yeah, Time Warp will do. Yeah. No attacks. All right. Gotta play quicker. Sorry, guys. Okay. And this lets us hold up Divide by 0. These spiders with Menace are a problem, and that Sorin's also a problem. It's possible that that this game is going to grind on for a while, that we can't win. Our kill. Okay. So now they're going to attack us for 8. But we'll be able to fetch Mascot Exhibition. Killing Teferi is nice. Maybe I'm supposed to bounce Sorin. I didn't even realize they didn't activate him. Oh boy. Yep. Probably bouncing the Go Blank, realistically. How's Lobster? We have 11 mana. But no instant speed that deals with the Go Blank. Frustrating. Alright. Start sending back these spiders. Try to take over the board this way. Yep. That was a pretty good Go Blank. Sequencing's weird. Infernal Grasp killing the Hullbreaker Horror. That's bad. I'm not sure how we live through this. Well, that's probably one way. Yep. Alright. We should do this on their upkeep, so that they can't use their 2 mana to crack the clue. I'm really not sure what we need here. They just have way too much value or way too far behind. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to scoop this up because I do want to make sure I have enough time on the clock to win game 3. Yeah, allowing that Sorin to resolve was not great. Doomscar never felt very good. Verdane actually felt okay, but... I think I like the Sunset Revelries more than I like the Doomscars at this point. Yeah, and I think I like the Circle of Confinement more than the last Doomscar. Again, they actively want their stuff to die, so if we can exile things instead, then I think we're happy. It's possible I mis-sideboarded in this game. I have to play fast, though. We will keep. And I think I am just going to play this tapped. Immediately draw land, obviously. Florahedron. Okay, so at least Redane will prevent them from casting a 4-drop with the mana from the Florahedron. So we have a little bit of time. Sure. Yep. Let's attack first. Still, the tax is too much for them to pay through the Redane, so I think we hold off on this. I'm going to play the key. A little concerned about binding the old gods, come to think of it. I'll take the tutor. And pitch. I suppose consider. Okay, this feels quite good. We have 5 mana available. Five mana available means that I'm going to fetch Divide by Zero, I think, with the tutor. And then if they pay through the Redain, then we'll just be able to divide that. And then Memory Deluge is coming. Teachings also seems quite good. Stroke also quite good. So let's dig for some land. Discover the Formula is also very, very good. We'll take that. Yeah, sure. We have 6 mana available, which is enough to discover if they don't do anything. And I do really badly want to hold up Stroke. So maybe this is the play then. Yeah. Especially with Redain in play. I want to make sure I can draw the cards. Also, Teferi is like creeping up to ultimate territory, which should just win the game. That's not something I'm going to tolerate. Okay. Kind of do have to blitz out these moves, unfortunately. Sorry, everyone. Normally I would go much slower than this. That was really good. We have 5 mana available. Let's just take some of their mana, I think. And have 2 Divide by Zeros. I think I'm fine with this. Yeah, cool. Okay, game 2 a little hairy there. Definitely feel like I misplayed it, but game 3 was pretty comfortable. Redain definitely overperformed against this. We showed it to them in game 2, but I don't think their hand was particularly good against it in game 3. You saw the power, of course, of Discover the Formula in this game as well. Like, Divide by Zero for 2 is unbelievably good. Fateful Absence for 1, unbelievably good. And Teferi gets up to 7 faster than you would think against these dirtily mid-range decks. So, thank you very much for watching. This was stop 2 in our tour of Alchemy, and I'll be back with stop 3. If you want to see a particular deck, let me know in the comments, and I'll make an effort to play that one for you as soon as possible. See you guys next time.